next one is picture 9, I think. Yeah, this is our first studio, and this was in the garage of his house. They literally cut this garage down the middle. It was a single-car garage, you know, and this bit was the control room, the other bit was the studio, and countless packages were recorded in there. It was the world's smallest room, where the vocal booth was, and we often used to get 5 and 6 singers in there. The early singers we had were Alan's daughter Melanie, had a very nice singing voice. Unfortunately, she died a few years ago. Alistair Gordon, who still sings to me, sang yesterday. A guy called Terry Davis, who'd been on the Pirates with me, and was a good singer. He left and got another job at. He left. He was working at Pennine Radio, got a job at Radio Essex. Essex Radio, I have to put it the right way round. There's a pirate ship, a pirate fort called Radio Essex. This is Essex Radio. Anyway, he was replaced by Steve Butler, the famous Steve Butler, and we'd used lots of different soloists, and we took it. We thought, well, who's the best one? Who's the best one? So we took Steve in and said, Steve, we think we can make you into a jingle singer. We'll train you up and everything, and we'll do our best. And he was up for it, and that's how Steve Butler got into the business. Ian Wilson from Sound Cafe sang with us an awful lot. Ian, unfortunately, got throat cancer a few years ago, and so his voice is really gone. But he still plays guitar and tours with Barclay James Harvest, as does Steve. Sheila Gott, Sue Quinn, Jean Barrow, these were all our early singers, and it was such a small room in there that we really had to be careful who we introduced to the group. We had one girl who was actually a big West End singer now, but unfortunately she was smelly, and so they all voted and said, don't book her again, so they didn't book her again. And when it got really hot, we used to sing with the windows open. Alan put a hose pipe on the roof to evaporate and try and get rid of the heat. There was no air conditioning in the place, and we did all sorts of things. We did commercials, we did jingles, and so forth. One of my weaknesses is that I know nothing about football, and I've detested it for years and years. Ever since I was forced to walk around the pitch as a kid, I'll be the last one chosen, I'll be in there. So unfortunately, I don't know a lot about football, but an advertising agency turned up once, and they said, this is what the footballer says, whatever his name was. And I said, right. I said, well, the thing is, I'll have to teach him how to say each line separately, because, best will in the world, he's not going to be able to do it. And they just looked at me blankly. And I said, well, honestly, he's some thick footballer, and he's going to come in and go, hello, my name is Fred Duff, and I think you should do it. And at that point, they looked sideways and said, well, this is the footballer. I know he was captain of United or something. I have no idea at all. So, I had lots of great fun in that little studio, but we really wanted to buy some premises. So eventually, we bought these premises. This is when it was for sale. It was a derelict old school, Church of England school, and it was in a terrible condition. And we bought it, but they'd accepted our offer, but it was still going through. And we discovered that people had broken in, and there were signs of a fire. So I wasn't sure what to do. I was going to buy the house next door there. It was all part of the big lot. But we discovered there was electricity on in the house, so I drilled a hole through the wall, and I put an endless loop cassette going with a loudspeaker inside the school building, and there was people sort of marching around like this and soaring and banging, all building noises, kicking these toolboxes and saying, okay, and we let this go, a 6-minute endless loop cassette all the time. Great. Somebody comes up to the building, they'll hear all that noise, they'll think the building work is going on, and they will go away. Except we hadn't figured out for some drunk at 2 a.m. who decided he'd walk up to the building, who said, bloody hell, it's haunted. So he called the police. And the police couldn't find, they could hear all this noise and things. They turned up, and eventually they found a door that they could force open. They burst in, right, you... Ooh, there's a loudspeaker. So we really got a hard time from the police about that. We renovated the whole building. It took a long time, took a lot of money. Had a lot of famous people work there doing the commercials as well as the jingles. We had Pat Phoenix. We had to push her car to make it start, I remember. We had David Jason, and he sounded exactly like he does on Only Fools and Horses. Hello, mate, how you doing? It's a complete waste of time, that, isn't it? Yeah. And Robbie Coltrane also came. Matthew Corbett, who looked just like Sweep, with a dog that looked like Sweep as well. Bill Oddie came to do a voiceover, and I remember he was very moody. He's renowned for being moody. And the person who was sent to the station, Piccadilly Station, to collect him, said I tried to talk to him all the way, and he didn't say a single word. Just sat there, like that. So, you know, Frank Thornton, Captain Peacock, he was one of the people who came. Lots and lots of people. In fact, so much so that the visitors' book was stolen one day by somebody. Well, so many memories from this place. I spent 18 years of my life in this place. Alan had all these amazing sayings. He would say these same sayings, you know. So, for example, when the girls broke in between, you know, take a break. We'll be back singing in a moment. He'd say, "Don't go for a trolley full of value," because there was a little supermarket over the road, and it was low cost, and the slogan was, "Get a trolley full of value at low cost," because the girls would go over and they'd be gone for 3/4 of an hour. Get a trolley full of value. He didn't refer to money. Money was happy cabbage. Oh, happy cabbage. Well, in some time in the past, notes were green. I think that's what it was about. We never got. It wasn't. Let's get back in the studio again. It's back on your head's time, referring to some ancient joke. He didn't go to the loo. It was pointing Percy at the porcelain. And the thing that used to drive me nuts was, instead of saying, "Right, shall we get back to it again?" he'd say, "Are we in a ghost situation?" So, you know, so many memories from that time. Alan was a very talented guy, and he had a lot of talented musician friends of his. There was, we had quite a few drummers. Well, the drummers, I don't know if you know about the sort of way that musicians are. Drummers tend to be sort of quite, you know, they bang things, they're aggressive, you know. And I remember putting on the talkback saying, "Could you play that little drum roll at the beginning a little bit louder?" You know, and he said, "They're not bloody telegraph poles." This is the same guy who, at a Granada session, strings are very famous for playing behind the beat. And he just shouted into his microphone, "Could I have the strings a little earlier in my cans, please?" You know, they're all different. Brass players tend to be that kind of, you know, "Let's go down the pub and let's come on, let's sit down." You know, string players come in and they're very nice and very delicate. And I can see a string player over there. Be careful what I say, but they're very refined and very nice. They never meet each other as a rule. In those days, you know, not so much stuff is done orchestrally now, but they never meet each other because you put the rhythm tracks down first, and then they go, strings come, do their bit, brass does their bit. You know, these people don't really meet, which is odd, isn't it? But that's the way that recording is. We had some very strange customers as well. We did some stuff for RTE Radio 2, whose slogan was "RTE Radio 2, Ireland's #1. we had another station which came to us and said, "No, we want the jingles, you see. No, it's our name is West Cork Local Radio, WKLR." I said, WKLR? WCLR, isn't it? "Oh, well, a WC is a toilet, so we couldn't have that." One of the musicians came back laughing because they'd been into a club and they'd played somewhere in the northeast, and the place was full. And then when they went to get their money, the guy said, "Oh, sorry, there's a bad night tonight, not many in." And the guy said, "Well, you must admit." And the guy said, "Don't call me, I must admit."